Welcome back. This is part two of sharing my cancer journey that was almost 7 years ago. And so, if you haven't watched part one, go ahead and watch part one so you come to part two, you're able to kind of understand where this is taking you. So, um, I went in for my first day of chemotherapy. There was some medications that I had to take before coming in for chemotherapy. So I had to take I forgot what that medication is called, but a medication pill to prep my body to receive chemotherapy. And then I had other drugs that would help with pain medications like morphine, oxycodone, and Zantac, and other things that I needed to take just to make me feel comfortable. And so I came in and they were going to give me four different drug treatments, or actually, sorry, four different drugs for each treatment. So my first round, I had a 24-hour medicine that was going to pump into my system for 24 hours and come back the next day to receive the three more chemo drugs that needed to go into my body. But when I got there and they were starting all the process and everything, I my port here was not able to draw out blood, but I was able to receive medicines and fluids going in. And so they thought that I couldn't get my treatment right away. So they were kind of like working at it, and then somehow they were able to figure out that they can't draw blood, but just only able to put medications in. So we're like, okay. They poked me on my arm for blood, and then they did drugs through the port going inside. I had to go, I think, a week or two later to go back in to go have my port redone, and so that it is able to draw blood, and also I can receive medications going in. And so that was another surgery journey that I had to go through, which was not fun because the first round was very sore, painful. I couldn't move my neck because they made some incisions here and one incision here, so it was you get very sore and you can't move. I had to recover that for a couple of days before I was able to do chemo. And so as soon as the chemo hit into my body, I wasn't feeling much difference. And then the few hours going in, I think I didn't wear socks, and somehow, no, I'm wrong on that. I did wear socks, but I needed to go and use the restroom, and I went to go and use the restroom, and I touched the sink, and I touched the faucet, and the sink and the faucet was cold, and my hands hurted. My hands hurted because with chemo, you get very sensitive with cold, and I totally forgot about that because, again, my brain wasn't there when I was in the education class. So I was like, oh my God, I can't touch cold. Oh, this is probably what they said about, some of the side effects that you feel, right? So I was living in Minnesota at that time too. So my first treatment was in October, and that was during the time that fall was in, and winter was just around the corner, and it was getting colder, right? Well, not freezing yet, but colder. And so it didn't help much because I would get cold all the time. And so those are my first symptoms. And then I started feeling a little bit off, but started feeling more nauseated, and I can feel the fact that I started feeling kind of tired and fatigued. But it wasn't like instantly, so it was just gradually building. And when I got home on that first day, because the day before that, I went and cut my hair to pixie haircut, because I wanted to get ready for chemo. And that first day at the hospital, came home and sat on the couch, and I took off my cap, ran my hand through my hair, and I could see chunks of hair, pieces of chunks of hair was already falling off. And that was just the first day of the first dose of chemo that hit my body. And within hours, my hair was already falling off in chunks. I think the next day or the next day after, the next 2 days after that, my hair was falling out so much to the point that it was getting everywhere and it was bothering me. I was itching up, and so I told my husband, let's just make me go bald because I don't want to mess with this. So he was kind of refusing, didn't want to, because he didn't want to see me in that way. But my hair falling, I didn't have an issue with that because I knew that was to come. I knew it was going to grow back, so it didn't really bother me much. I wasn't so attached to that in some way. I was able to convince me in some way before that. So I shaved my head. And as the day went by, each day after that, I had like my 3 doses. Actually, the next day when I went back and I had my 3 doses, and then coming back home, I started feeling more severe severe nauseous. And then I felt like I needed to throw up. Whatever I ate tasted funny, but I didn't lose a whole lot yet. It was coming, but not yet though. And so I started feeling like things smell, weird smells, food smell different, and food tasted different, and I couldn't eat as much even though I was still hungry. And every time I ate, I felt like I needed to throw up, or every time I ate something, it didn't sit well in my stomach, and it would just sit there for a few hours, and then a few hours later I would be throwing up, or I would throw up all the food because it just didn't sit well. And that was all because of the chemo that was in my body that was doing that to me. I got really, really tired, and for that first week and a half, it was the hardest part for me, because at that time I could not eat, I could not drink, I was tired and weak, things smell, food did not taste good. Every time I ate, I threw up, and when I threw up, it was like violent vomiting. And every time I vomited, TMI here, it wasn't just vomiting. I was literally like expelling everything out in all 3 ways, meaning my mouth, going to the bathroom, peeing and pooping while vomiting at the same time. And that was even harder because my body was just like expelling everything out, and I couldn't control it. And so I was like rushing to the bathroom, like back and forth, and kind of like moaning and kind of screaming like, oh my God, I can't help myself, because one, it's coming out one way and it's coming out the other way. And so how do I even like work with that? And I had just to do what I had to do, clean up after what I had expelled out. And so I was in bed for that entire week and a half until all the chemo was out of my system and I felt energetic again, and then I was better. But during that time, I couldn't eat, couldn't drink, could not sleep. I was having like leg restless syndrome. I was feeling all these prickly things in my body, and I just could not fall asleep. Also experiencing pain at the pit of my stomach. Was so much happening at the same time, and I couldn't eat for days on that first treatment because it was so hard on my body. I thought I was gonna die. I was telling my husband that if you listen to me, this is my last breath, this is my last message for you. And I was telling my husband all of these things, and he just kept going, no, don't say that, please don't say that. And he fell asleep because he needed to go to work, and I was laying there and did not go to sleep, and I was crying and crying and crying a lot because I felt like I was gonna die. I felt like it was so hard on me. And so I decided to just say to God and say, hey, if I'm meant to go tomorrow, take me, because this is too damn hard. I can't take this anymore. And I cried myself to sleep. And in the middle of the night, I woke up with an amount of strength and energy that I haven't had for days. And I felt like, wow, how come this energy came over me and waking up feeling this way? And I realized that because I prayed, because I asked, and because I felt like I was gonna die. And in that moment, yes, I wasn't aware that what I did was I surrendered and I let go. And so I was able to get up and eat some stuff that next morning and was able to feel like myself again. And so that was the journey for me for the next 2 months, because I was on chemo drugs like every 2 weeks. So 1 week and a half of like shit show of hardcore poison in your body, and then like closer to almost a week before I get my next treatment is when I start feeling better. And so I would have that cycle for the 2 months, and I would be in bed all day, every day, because I didn't have any strength. At that time, my baby was growing, and I was not able to take care of her. She didn't know who I was. And so those were my experiences in that first round of going through the 4 treatments. And then I had to also continuously going for my PET scans just to continuously monitor the cancer, and then start scheduling and going to see my doctor that was gonna perform surgery for my stomach. And there were a lot of things that he talked about that made me even more fearful and worried and doubtful about what's gonna happen to my body. And there weren't much guarantees and stuff like that. So it made me even more emotional and unsure of what to do. And so I will share that in my part 3 on the next step of what happened when I went to surgery. And so tune in back when I have part 3 up and join me for part 3.